So one of the benefits of practicing mindfulness and practicing smoothing out your breath and just paying attention to your breath is that even though we can't affect or have control over the way life presents and all the stresses that come into our lives, what happens when something stresses us out or when some challenge, something new, something scary, something sad happens is that we tend to modulate our breath. And we do it unconsciously. It's like, something just happened. Or, I don't know what I'm going to do. And we hold our breath. Or, when we're sad or afraid, our breath changes. And it's been shown how the quality of your breath actually relates to a state of mind. And so as we encounter stressful situations and we unconsciously respond to them with the way we breathe, it then creates a bit of a cycle, a loop in the mind that then when we're holding that type of breathing pattern, it triggers that type of thought process and triggers those types of, like, for example, it can trigger the amygdala to produce more cortisol to make you more stressed out. And then it becomes this cycle and this loop. So one way that you can not take on the effects of stress, meaning you don't store it in your body, you don't store it in your mind, is by throughout the day, periodically, taking a moment to have a few mindful breaths and smoothing out your breath again. And just notice, am I holding my breath? Is it a little bit jerky? Is it uneven? Is it gasping? Or is it a kind of a sighing type of breath? Sometimes when we feel overwhelmed, you'll find yourself going like this.
I think I did that a couple times this week.
And then there's generally you do this big sigh, and then there's a pause before you actually breathe in again. So, and all of that, the mindfulness is about, like I said the first week, about turning on the light switch to just seeing what's going on without judgment, without needing to change it. Simply by turning on the light, you can kind of see, I need to step to the right in this situation so I don't hit my shin on the bedpost. Or I need to step to the left so I don't step on these toys my kid left out. So just by turning the light on, which is bringing your attention to what is going on in your breath, is sometimes we don't feel like we have control over our mind. Sometimes it feels like I don't even know what my mind's doing. It's doing something. But we can feel our breath. We can bring our attention to our breath and feel it and say, what's going on here? And it can kind of give us an idea of the state of our mind as well. And because we sometimes don't feel like we have control over our mind, we can lovingly, and lovingly is the key word, influence our breath or invite it to slow down and invite it to lengthen and invite it to not hold your breath. And the invitation is the key, because we don't want to try to force our breath. We're trying to force ourselves to be so many things. And force is not, in this situation, the way that is most effective for bringing about a more natural, calm, clear state of being. But through an invitation, like once you notice where your breath is, I'm holding my breath, instead of saying, man, I'm holding my breath again. Why can't I just breathe through this? You say, there must be something going on. Let me tend to it like you would tend to your own child.
Right.
And so tending to your breath and saying, I wonder if I can just connect my breath. If I'm holding it, maybe can I breathe in and just let it go as soon as I'm finished with the inhale? And then as soon as the exhale is done, can I just breathe back in, so that the breath kind of becomes this, like, I kind of feel it like a figure eight. This is in and it's out. And it's not forced and it's not rushed, but it's continuous. Interweaving the in breath with the out breath. And then maybe if you notice it's a little jerky or a little stiff, tense, you can say, I wonder if I soften my face, maybe soften my shoulders, if my breath will smoothen out.
That makes sense.
And that's that way. What happens when you do that is that stress comes and you process it right then and there, and then it leaves, and it doesn't get stuck and you feeling like an overwhelming sense of I can't handle this. It's like, yes, stress comes. Well, I feel that stress. You might feel tension in your stomach or your chest, tightness. You feel it. You take your attention to your breath, and then it passes through. You don't have to worry about how to process it. You don't have to worry about how am I going to let the stress go. The breath takes care of it all, because your breath is an active part of your nervous system, and your nervous system knows how to bring you back into a state of peace. So there's the mindfulness plug. Why we do. And it's 8:30 now, so I looks like it's just me and you. So I'll just go ahead and start with a simple practice.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and find yourself sitting. If you're sitting in a chair, ground through your sit bones and plant your feet firmly on the ground. And if you're sitting on the floor, get in a position where you feel like you can sit up nice and tall with as little effort as possible. So in yoga and mindfulness, the goal is to get the most benefit with the least amount of effort. And so we try to put our body in a position that is conducive for being alert and calm all at the same time. So we want to sit up, soften the shoulders, soften your face, and feel every part of your body that's touching the ground, whether that's your feet and your sit bones, or maybe if you're sitting cross-legged, it's your legs. And then feel as though there's a string pulling you up through from the top of your head. So it lengthens your spine. And as your spine lengthens and draws up, there's some space between each vertebrae. And as your spine lengthens, you can soften your shoulders, your arms. Now just notice your breath moving in and out. No need to change it. We just want to become aware of how our breath is moving through our body. So we can use an anchor point for this by noticing where you feel your breath moving the most. Generally, it'll either be in your abdomen, your chest, or in your nostrils. So just notice for a moment, where do you feel your breath moving the most in and out of your body? And hold your attention there, noticing maybe the depth of your breath. And by depth, I mean how deep in your body is your breath coming? How deeply is it nourishing your body? And then maybe notice if your breath feels continuous. So that one breath interweaves right into the next. And whether it does or it doesn't is less important than just being with what is, being really curious in a kind way to understand how your breath, your body, and your nervous system are all functioning right now. And you could notice if your breath feels smooth, or if there's any part of the breath cycle that feels maybe that there's some tension or a little jerky. It's pretty natural. Sometimes you can have a really nice smooth breath all the way in and all the way out until the very last portion of the out breath, or sometimes it can be right before you take the last exhale. And as you just notice the way that you're breathing, the quality of your breath, take a moment to allow it to be as it is, this acceptance and a softening around what is. And as you soften around what is, you can slowly begin to allow your breath to soften, which will naturally allow your breath to smoothen out, to lengthen. Sometimes it happens relatively quickly, and sometimes it takes days and months of practice before this breath smoothens out. You can't force it, it only comes in the presence of your awareness, your acceptance, and of your letting go of trying to force it to be what you think it should be. Now take your attention to the moment your breath first enters your nostrils. See if you can be very present and feel as much sensation as your breath first enters your nostrils as you can. Notice the temperature, notice the pressure, notice the softness. If there's sound, notice the sound. And then see if you can begin to follow your breath. Once it first enters your nostrils, follow it all the way up through the nose, to the inner corners of the eyes, right in between your eyebrows, and then follow it back down and out. See if your awareness can trace the flow of your breath. Feeling the coolness of your inhale and how your exhale is slightly warmer. And even though your eyes are closed, sometimes there's this unconscious looking out where the eyes are still trying to look out even though the eyelids are closed. See if you can take your gaze and look inward. And notice what that feels like. Sometimes as we sense the flow of our breath, when we draw our awareness inward, we may still feel or hear some type of distractions. If there's any type of distraction in the outer world, acknowledge the sounds, the movements, and then just allow your awareness to return to the flow of your breath. Sometimes we can have a distraction in our own body, a slight discomfort or pain. You do the same thing. You acknowledge it with loving awareness. Yes, I feel you. And then bring your attention back to your breath. So instead of allowing things to be distractions, we actually allow it to become part of our practice, honing in our awareness to accept what is in this present moment and yet still remain present to our own life force, which resides in our breath. And lastly, if you find any distractions in your mind, thoughts, you can simply label it thinking and then bring your attention back. So the thought passes by. Doesn't matter what the thought is, it's simply thinking. Bring your attention back to feeling the flow of your breath. Feel the sensation, the movement of your breath. And just take about 2 or 3 more breaths. Being as present as you can. And then keeping your eyes closed, take a deep breath in and out. Let your in-breath nourish you and let your out-breath wash away fatigue, pain, tension. And then bring your hands together and begin to rub your palms to create some warmth. And once your palms are nice and warm, place them over your eyes. Feel the warmth nourishing your eyes, your vision, your perspective. And then softly open your eyes into your hands. And then bring your hands to your heart. And we always like to honor the moment and honor our life force and honor the practice with a thank you. So thank you. Thank you for this life and this day and our breath and this moment and each other.
Thank you.